Okay, so yesterday we learned about working with the input and output functions, how to handle them, right? And now we are going to deal with the language basics. So JavaScript language basics. We are going to start understanding the language basics. So once you are good in language basics, you can use this JavaScript language related all the knowledge in any technology. Wherever JavaScript is used, there these language basics are very important. So in the JavaScript language basics, first important we need to know about variables. Variables. We need to know about variables. Technically, what is a variable and how to use it. For example, already we learned, suppose I have prompt and here we say enter name and document dot write. Now our concept is whatever name entered, we need to print that only one time. Then what we can do is we can write like this. In document dot write, we can put this. So in document dot write, we can put this part. We can write like this. That means what happens is it will open the prompt, whatever you entered, it will print it. So here, when I run this, you can see it opens the prompt. Whatever I entered inside it, it will print it. So, okay, it will print. That's okay, working fine. But if I want to use that name again somewhere, then that is not available. It's gone. That means only one time. So that means it's loaded into memory and we used it, finished it. It destroyed. That means if I want it again, then that name is no longer available in memory. So that means again I have to refresh. When I refresh again prompt will come. I entered some name into it. It will print that name and it's gone. But I want to store in memory so that I can use later anywhere, somewhere else. If I want to use it, then we need to store that in memory. For that, we need variables. Variables are nothing but in computer programming, variables are storage locations. Storage locations in memory. Variables are storage locations in memory where you can store a value and use it as a part of any expression. So technically, variables are storage locations in memory. That means we can allocate a location in memory. In that location, we can store value so that we can access and use it any number of times. So for example, here, how this works. For example, see, I am making some change in this. So I want to use this name entered again and again. Then I will keep it under username is this. So username is a variable. Lot of things are there about variable. We will see. Username is a variable. In that variable, this is stored. Actually, now what happens is, generally what happens now is, in the memory, that means this is memory. In this memory, a place is allocated called user name. So in this place, that means in the memory, a small location is allocated, and in that username, it is going to store this value. So that means whatever you entered, now it will be stored in that memory location, so that I can access from there and use any number of times anywhere I want. So technically, variables are storage locations in the memory. The purpose of variable is to store a value and use it whenever required. So here, if I do that, now you can see here I can use username. I will put here some hello, and plus that username. And after that, again, document dot write. So how are you today? So, and his name. So again, username. That means now once you store this in memory, you can access and use any number of times. You can access and use from any location, So that means it is going to display this. It is going to display this. So I entered some name and it says, hello, John. How are you today, John? So it is going to reuse. The purpose of variable is to reuse. Now, the key point here is actually JavaScript variables. JavaScript allows to use variables directly. JavaScript allows to use variables directly. So, but directly, if it is not in a strict mode. If it is not in strict mode. Yesterday I told you what is strict mode. If it is not in strict mode, JavaScript allows to use variable directly, which we are doing it now. That means in this example, we are doing it. In this example, we are doing it actually. In this example, we are doing it. It is going to use variable directly if it is not in strict mode. So if it is strict mode, actually in a strict mode, variable configuration comprises of three phases. Variable configuration contains three phases. In strict mode, variable configuration contains three phases. One is declaration. Another one is assignment, and third one is initialization. Variable configuration contains three phases actually. You should know these three phases. What is declaration, what is assignment, and what is initialization. These three are very important. Actually, what is declaration, assignment, initialization is, see, suppose I will show you the point. Later we will discuss now how to declare also. Suppose I temporarily return like this, some var x. So I temporarily return that var x, that is var x. Okay, and that is variable x, and x equal to 10. And another way option is var y is equal to 20. So this first one, var x equal to var x. So this is called declaring. That is called declaring variable. Declaring variable contains two parts, scope and name. Var is a scope. I will tell you about scope now. We will discuss about that. Declaring contains two phases. So two parts, the scope and the name. So variable name is x and its scope is var. What does var means? We will see now. So this is declaring. After declaring, you are sending some value into it. You are sending some value called 10 into it. This is called assigning, assignment. Some people who don't know proper programming, they call that initializing. They call initializing value. Then you can understand that he don't know programming. So that is not initializing, that is assigning. That means initializing means at the time of declaring a variable, if you send a value into it, then that is called initializing. This is initializing. We call this as initialization. Initialization. That means at the time of declaring, you send some value into it. Then we call it as initialization. So declaring is just scope and name. Assigning is after declaring, sending value. After declaration finish, if you send some value into it, then it is called assignment. At the time of declaring, if you send value into it, then it is called as initialization. We call that as initialization. These three are very important to understand. So declaring, assignment, and initialization. So declaring contains only name. So let it here define in this way. Actually, declaring is defining scope and name for variable. Declaring is defining scope and name for variable. So var some user name, something like this. That is called declaring. So assigning is rendering a value into variable after declaring. Assigning is rendering a value into variable after declaring. That means username is equal to some name. This is assigning. Then initialization is rendering a value into variable while declaring. After declaring, while declaring. That means var username is equal to John. like this. If I do like this, then it is called initialization. These are the three phases: declaring, assigning, and initializing. So while configuring variables, we must know these three. So variable configuration contains these three options. As I told you, so already I told you that declaring of variable is mandatory. Declaring of variable is mandatory if JavaScript is in strict mode. Actually declaring or initializing. Declaring or initialization. Declaring or initialization of variable is mandatory if JavaScript is in strict mode. It is mandatory. If JavaScript is not in strict mode, directly you can assign value and use it. If JavaScript is in strict mode, then declaring or initializing is mandatory. So we have to declare or initialize if it is in strict mode. For example, you see this here. In this, declaring variable is not there. Only assigning. Username is a variable. Into that we are assigning something. Then I will turn on the strict mode. How to turn on strict mode? Yesterday we learned. Use strict. We are turning on the strict mode. And when we turn on the strict mode, now you can see here, it says some name. Okay, it's not working. We will go to inspect. In the inspect, go to console. It will show error. Username is not defined. That means it is not declared. So we need to declare. So declaring or initializing is mandatory. Then the question is how to declare or initialize variable in JavaScript. So variables in JavaScript can be declared by using three important keywords, by using var or let or constant. Var, let, and const. So variables in JavaScript can be declared using three keywords. So that is the var and let and constant. Now what is difference between these three? What is var, what is let, and what is constant? Let's see. So first we will see what is a var. Actually, var it defines function scope variable. It defines function scope variable. Var defines function scope variable. Function scope variable means you can declare in any block of a function in any block of a function and access from any another block in function. This I will show you, you will understand. You can declare in any block of a function and access from any another block in the function. Then we call function scope. That is function scope. Variable is function scope. Var is used for function scope. That means I will show here what is this sentence means. What does the sentence means? Let's see. So here I am declaring a variable. Here I am writing a function some f1. Okay, and this function should execute. If we don't call the function, it will not execute. To call the function, I will use f1. So that is writing a function and calling the function. So in this function, I am declaring, suppose var x, and after that x equal to 10. After that I am writing if x equal to 10, then var y is equal to 20, and I am accessing here document dot write. So x equal to whatever is there in x, and in the next line y is equal to whatever is there in y. We are printing those two. Here actually this is a function scope. Actually this is the function scope. That is the function scope. In that function, this is block. That means that if is a block. In that block, we declared a variable called y. And we are trying to access this outside the block and use it here. So is it possible to do that? Yes, it is possible to do that if y is declared with var. This var will make the function scope, so that anywhere in that function you can access and use it. Anywhere in the function you can access and use it. You declare anywhere in the function, you can access from anywhere in the function. That is called function scope. So that means this is valid. Actually, y is declared inside a block, and you are trying to access outside the block. That's okay, it works, no problem. Why? Because var makes it function scope. Var makes it function scope, so this is possible. There is no issue in this. And you can see that is working fine. Y is accessible, X is also accessible. So function scope means it is accessible outside the block, inside the function anywhere, inside the function anywhere. That is general. This is a simple syntax for that, how it is available in the function scope. This you will get in the notes. So this is actually function scope. Another important is var allows declaring, assigning, and initialization. Var allows declaring, assigning, and initialization. All the three are allowed. It allows declaring, assigning, initializing. Already all these three are in the program current. You see, So where x, this is what declaring, x equal to 10, this is what assigning, y is equal to 20, this is initializing. So it is supported with all the three. It will allow declaring, assigning, and initialization. Next important here is where allows shadowing, where allows shadowing. Now what is this shadowing? Where allows shadowing? Actually shadowing is nothing but, means what is shadowing? Means a simple frequently asked question for freshers. What is shadowing? Shadowing is nothing but it is the process of declaring same name identifier within the scope. I will show you. Redeclaring same name identifier within the scope, we call this as shadowing. Where allows shadowing? Where allows shadowing? Shadowing is the process of redeclaring same name identifier within the scope. Within the scope. I will show you that. What does that means? We will see. Here, initially, when we are dealing with where, you see here y is equal to 20 and it is printing y equal to 20. Now here I am using y is equal to 40. What it is? Am I redeclaring again? Redeclaring. Am I redeclaring? Assigning. I am assigning again. So you can assign any number of times. Whatever latest value you assign, it will be there inside it. That is assigning. Now it is working fine. So if I write again where y equal to some 40 or 30, something like this, this is redeclaring. Redeclaring, this is shadowing. We call this shadowing. Why you are redeclaring again? Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we want to reallocate memory again within the scope, because already that memory is busy with a lot of work. We reset it. For that we need to redeclare again. That situation comes very often. So we have to redeclare the same name identifier again in the scope to freshly allocate memory, destroying everything previous. So for that reason we do this, and this is called shadowing. So we call this as shadowing, and it is allowed. It is allowed only if it is with where. So shadowing is allowed. You can see it is working fine, no problem. So not assigning, redeclaring the same name variable. We call this mechanism as shadowing. This is a point. So shadowing is very much required. Shadowing is very much required, and it is regularly used also. Regularly used. You will come across with that situation later once we start programming with examples. That is shadowing. So where allows shadowing. Another important, where allows hoisting. Where allows hoisting. Now the question is, what is hoisting? Hoisting. So where allows hoisting also. Where allows shadowing, where allows hoisting. Hoisting is a general term actually. Hoisting is a general word. For example, suppose you see for August 15th, so January 26th, or somewhere we hoist flag. Flag is hoisted, right? Flag is hoisted. Why flags are hoisted? What silly question I am asking, eh? But you don't know. That is so silly. Eh? So, why a flag is hoisted? What is the meaning of hoisting? Right? The point is actually, for example, we have, suppose we have a group of people, some group, some group of people are there, and here some hundreds of group of people are there, and they have to reach to one location. That means, for example, so we have, this is the target location. This is the target location. And this is target. This is where target. This is where these people have to reach. And two people from this group started and they reached this target. And this target is almost 1 kilometer away. Now, how these people tell that group that we reached there? They will hoist a flag. Understood? They hoist a flag so that people can from this far can see it. And they can identify that, okay, they reached there. So hoisting a flag is a nature of telling that we are here. That is why US astronauts go to moon and hoist a flag. Why? To tell that we are here. So somebody hoists a flag on Everest saying that I am here. I am here. That is the meaning of hoisting. Right? It's not like we feel proud when it goes up and we salute high. That's not concept of hoisting flag. The concept of hoisting flag that it is, we are here. It is ours. That is the point actually. Why this mechanism? Because now we have a compiler. We have a compiler. And the compiler is here. The compiler is here. And here lot of code is there. Lot of code is present here. Generally, lot of code is present here. Now, in that code, usually some order will be there. Usually, order will be there. For example, see here. So, here, suppose this compiler is coming from this direction. From right side, it is coming. And suppose here we have some X. And here we have some, so X equal to some 10. So first I will give that here. I will give here X equal to 10. X equal to 10 is first came. After that, where X came. So that means now what happens is this declaration is happened after this assignment. Declaration happened after that assignment. Now, as per compiler, it comes here. First it sees assignment, then it says it's wrong. Because it needs a declaration. But already declaration is there, but somewhere else it is there. If you give that declaration to var, if you give this declaration of X to var, then this var can hoist this X. Then what will happen? This compiler can go here, then come back here. That is hoisting. In that case, you don't need to write in order. Anywhere you write, it will work. Anywhere you write, it will work. This is not supported everywhere. In any other programming languages, they don't support hoisting. JavaScript also don't support hoisting every time. So hoisting means here, suppose here you see I am defining, so x equal to 10, and I defined use strict. That means in strict mode, declaring is mandatory, and I am printing it document.write x equal to whatever the value of x. And you can see that now you will get one error. Error is reasonable. So reasonable expected error is, it says that x is not defined. Now what I am doing is I am defining x here, var x. But compiler actually comes in this order, line 4, line 5, line 6. But when you use var for a variable, it will hoist it. Then compiler will catch it wherever it is. It will not follow the order. It will catch that wherever it is. Due to that, you can see that this is working fine. This is called here, this is hoisting. Hoisting. That means this is not supported in several programming languages. Various programming languages don't support hoisting. Even JavaScript also don't support hoisting everywhere. So hoisting is supported with var. Hoisting is nothing but it is a compiling technique. Compiling technique. It is a compiling technique where compiler can find declaration of variable before using it. Hence you can use a variable. Hence you can use a variable before declaring. You can use a variable before declaring. Only if it is with var. You can use a variable before declaring. Actually, we have to use variable after declaring all. But if it is var, then it allows hoisting. So these two words are very important. What is shadowing and what is hoisting? And this is example of hoisting. So that is example for hoisting. This is about var. So finally, what are the points about var is the final points. Var defines function scope. That means you can declare in any block of function and can access from any another block inside function. Var allows all the three mechanisms: declaring, assigning, initializing. Var allows shadowing, means same name identifier can be redeclared. And var allows hoisting. That means you can use a variable before declaring. But declaration is mandatory. You can declare anywhere. There is no order for that. That is hoisting. So now, what is LET? LET. What is LET? LET, it is used to define block scope variable. It is used to define block scope variable. It is used to define block scope variable. block scope variable. That means it is accessible only in the block where it is declared, or to its inner blocks. It is accessible only in the block where it is declared or to its inner blocks. That is block scope variable. This is important, block scope variable. And it allows all the three things actually. I will show you that. It allows declaring, assigning, and initialization. It allows declaring, assigning, and initialization. All the three are allowed. So all three options are allowed: declaring, assigning, and initialization. But it is block scope. So see the point here. I am defining here now let x, that is declaring, x equal to 10, that is assigning. If x equal to 10, this is a block. In that let y is equal to 20, it is initialized. Now here I am writing outside, I am writing document dot write x is equal to whatever x is, and y is equal to whatever y is. But now the point here is this y is declared in a block. It is not accessible here. It's not available. It's not available there. Because you're declared in a block, you can access only in that block. You cannot access outside that block. So that means y is being accessed outside the block where it is declared. It is in same function, but it is block scope. That means it is accessible only in the block where it is declared. And here very important is, what about let? Let is also block scope only, but this time it is function block scope. Now don't think that function scope, right? That is also function block scope. Later you will face a problem if there is a function inside function. If there is a function inside function, then you will understand the function scopes also. Here the point is, don't think that it is function scope. It is also a block scope, but this block is higher block function. Second block is inner block if. Now the point is, it is not accessible here. Observe. So y is not accessible there. It says y not defined. So, but if it is declared with, var, it is declared with var, var allowed. If it is declared with var, no problem, y is allowed. But if it is declared with let, then it will restrict the scope. That means it will not allow to access outside. Now if I move this document write function, that method, into this if block, now here important is x accessible here? What do you say? Is x accessible here? Yes, because it is in outer block, it can be accessible to inner blocks. That's what I said in the definition. That means it is accessible to the block and its inner blocks. Its inner blocks. It is accessible, but not outside. So that is very important. Now this is okay. Now you can see this is working fine. X and Y are working fine. So LET is more restricted than var. There is nothing like which one is best. It is situation and requirements. We use LET, we use var, both. If we want function based, then we will go with var. We have a problem with hoisting techniques, then we use var. Why? Because LET, it will not allow, it will not allow, it will not allow shadowing, and it will not allow, it will not allow hoisting also. So in JavaScript, shadowing and hoisting is allowed only for var. LET will not allow shadowing and LET will not allow hoisting. They are not allowed. So you can see that here. Let's copy this first. For example, okay, shadowing and hoisting not allowed. You can see it. Suppose I used LET. Suppose I am writing y equal to 30. Is it valid? It is valid because it is assigning. It allows assigning. It allows initializing. It allows declaring. This is assigning. So assigning is allowed. It's working fine. Suppose I am defining LET y. It's not allowed. But if it is var declaration, it is allowed. But see here, one more point is that it will not allow same name identifier. That means if you are using a variable name, it will check that that variable name is not used anywhere. Not with which keyword used, variable name. Suppose somewhere this y is declared in the same block with var, that is also not valid. That is also not valid. That means now see here, I refresh, it says identifier y already declared. And see here, so if previously it is declared with var, is it possible to use? No, now also not possible. That means it is not caring about what declaration scope you given. It is caring about the name you given. That means it will check that that name is not already taken, whether it may be var or LET. LET checks that that name is not taken. If it is not taken, then it will use it. That is what actually shadowing is. That means shadowing means if that name is taken, still it should be able to use it. But once the name is taken by anybody, it will not allow to take it again. So that is why you can see even why we declared with var, then same problem, no change. So it will not allow shadowing. Of course, it will not allow hoisting also. It will not allow hoisting. Now it is fine, working fine. It will not allow hoisting also. Let's see. Suppose, so x equal to 10, document dot write x equal to whatever the value of x. And now you see, it says that declaration is required. X is not defined. I will define x, LET x. So LET cannot hoist your variable. LET cannot hoist your variable. Only var can hoist it. If LET is not hoisting the variable, the same problem. Cannot access before initialization. It cannot access before initialization. So it cannot access it. So that is important. So this is supported. If it is var, it is okay. Var supports hoisting, it works. but LET will not support hoisting. It will not support hoisting. That means LET is more restricted than VAR. So have a lot of limits, restrictions are there. That is what LET is. LET. So it will not allow shadowing, it will not allow hoisting, and it is a block scope variable. Same here, constant. This is important. Const. It is used to define block scope variable. So this is also block scope variable. It is used to define block scope variable. Block scope variable. And very important here is it will allow only initialization. It will allow only initialization, no declaring and no assigning. No declaring, no assigning, only initialization. And of course, no shadowing and no hoisting. That means it's more restricted than LET. And very important here, it supports only initialization, not even declaring. That means here constants, how they are used, const, how we configure. So here I am defining, suppose constant x, and after that x equal to 10, assigning document dot write x equal to whatever the value of x. So here when I run this, you can see that it says that missing initializer in const declaration. That means what is meant by initialization, I told you. Initialization is assigning a value while declaring. And here this is assigning, not initializing. Now here suppose I defined equal to 10, that's okay. Now you can see that it is working fine. After initializing x equal to 20, not valid. No, it will not allow, because constant will not support assigning. It will not allow. Now you see that when I refresh, it says that assignment to constant is not possible. Assignment to constant is not possible. That is very much clear, right? Assignment is not possible. By seeing this, some people make this as read only. 100 out of 100, 99 people, if you ask in interview what is constant, they will say constant means you cannot change value. That is the answer. If anyone gives that answer, that means you don't know constant. But this answer regularly you will hear, because that is how they know about it. They think that constant means constant, English constant. That means it will not change. No, constant is not about changing. Constant also can change. For example, see, suppose we will here define username is equal to prompt and enter name and document dot write, so hello, and that username. So people say that constant cannot change. Constant cannot change. Here you see now I am defining enter name John, it is John, and again I am entering name David, it is David. It is changing na? Then you are proved wrong. So now what is next answer then? That means we will prove you wrong with this, that constant can change. It's not like changing. Then obviously in interview they ask a question, then what is read only? What is difference between read only and constant? Tell me. Because you said constant means cannot be changed. Actually read only means cannot be changed in programming. But you said that constant means cannot be changed. Then tell me the difference between a constant and read only. So constant is not about read only. Constant is about you can assign a value into it or not. It will not at all allow assigning. That means people think that you cannot change it, because people think that assigning means changing with new value. But actually assigning is not changing with new value. So the point is here, constant is all about only initialization. It will not allow any assignments. It will not allow any assignments. Due to that, people may think like it is read only, but it is not read only. It can change. Only the point is, then why we use const? What is the intention of const? Constant intention is, suppose var x. Now what is in x? What is in x? Actually in JavaScript, if you don't assign any value, by default it will take undefined. So that means if I try to print it, see, document dot write x is equal to plus x, and you can see there is no value inside it, then by default it will print undefined. That means if there is no value into it, then it is undefined. That means until I send some value into it, it is undefined. That is problem. That is problem. That means several times in our project, at the time of loading the application, we want memory to be allocated for some purpose with some default value. We can't leave it undefined. That means we need to allocate memory and put some value into it. We cannot leave it undefined. If I leave it undefined, then it will not work later. I need to make it available with some value by default. That means it is mandatory that at the time of allocating memory, I should put some value into it. In such cases, what we do, we will define a constant. What constant indicates? Constant indicates that you can't leave it undefined. Constant indicates that you cannot leave it undefined. That means you must put some value into it. Memory should be allocated and there must be some value, at least an empty value, at least an empty value, string, or something must be there empty, at least a blank, but it cannot be undefined. By default, if I don't put blank, by default it is undefined. So we don't want undefined. So if anybody asked this question, like why we need a constant, why we need a constant, so constant is required to initialize memory, That means at the time of loading application, application, at the time of loading application or component, at the time of loading application or component, memory is initialized with some default value, Here, if initialization is missing, then by default value will be undefined. If initialization is missing, then by default value will be undefined. That means here var x and document dot write x is equal to plus x, then it says x equal to undefined. So we should tell the developers that it cannot be undefined, it must have some value. Then we will ask them to declare with the const. If it is const, then what it is mandatory that they must initialize. Const means it's mandatory that they must initialize. That means const x, this is invalid. X equal to 10, this is also invalid. Only const x equal to 10, this is only valid. And of course, it will not allow hoisting, it will not allow shadowing. So, and its scope is block. So constant is not about read only. Constant is about whether you can assign a value or not. So if anyone asks a question, can constant change its value? Can constant change its value? Answer is dynamically, yes. Dynamically it can change value, it can get different values. Just like you have seen from prompt, we are sending different value. So dynamically, yes. So constant can change its value dynamically. That means every time it can initialize with a different value. This kind of situation you will come across later. That means when you are doing programming, when you are developing application, we need to allocate memory in such a way that it can't be empty. It must have some default value, at least a blank. In that case, we have to define it with a constant. Constant indicates that it is mandatory to initialize. So that is constant, how we configure the variables. So these are the three important keywords for declaring variables: var, let, const. Limitations are different. Var is function scope, const and let are block scope. Var and let allows all declaring, assigning and initializing, but const allows only initialize. Var allows shadowing and hoisting, but const and let will allow only declaring, and it will not allow any shadowing and hoisting. These are differences. Now, another important is while working with variables, you have to know global scope for variable. Global scope for variable. What is global scope for variable? Global scope for variable. Actually, global scope for a variable is nothing but, so you can declare a variable In a module scope, you can declare a variable in module scope, so that it is global and accessible to all functions in module. What is module? I will tell you. Module scope. We will work with the modules in later stage. We will deal with that in the later stage, but it's very simple point actually. What is the concept of module? See, actually, suppose we have two functions, function f1 and function f2, and we are calling these two functions, function 1 and function 2, both are working. I want a variable in both functions. Then if I declare inside the function with var x10, it is accessible only in that function, because var also function scope only, not outside the function. Then we can declare this outside the functions. This is called module scope. That means that the script area, that entire script area is actually module. This is module. This entire area is module. That entire area is called module. In that module, there can be classes, there can be functions, there can be variables, so many things. Suppose you are creating a JavaScript file. That JavaScript file, the entire file is considered as a module. That means the JS file, the entire file is considered as a module. So this is a module actually. This is module. Later we will learn with module systems. In the next level, we will discuss that. What is module and how they work. When we start OOP concepts, we will see it. So this is module. And this is module scope variable. Then it is accessible in any function. Anywhere you can access and anywhere you can use it. You can use it. That means it is accessible to both functions, function 1 and function 2. So that means I am accessing document.write x in function 1, x in function 1. And so x in function 1, that is x. Similarly, I am printing here x in function 2. I am accessing that x here. And you can see it is working fine. Both are there. I will put a line break so that because two lines are printed, and that is fine. So it will be like this. X in function 1, x in function 2, both are working fine. That is actually global scope. Global scope. Now here, one important question asked in interview is, the question asked in interview is, can we declare a variable, global variable inside function? Can we declare a global variable inside function? Because inside function, where whatever you declare, it is not global. So whatever you declare in a function is not global. But then why this question is asked at all? So why they ask that, can we declare a global variable inside the function? So answer is yes. We can declare a global variable inside function. We can do that. So by using browser window object, you can declare a global variable inside function. That situation also comes regularly in our development process. For example, we return a button click logic. In that button click logic, we bring some data and store in the button click. But I want it later to use in somewhere else outside. But when you write anything in button click, it is only for button click. But if I want to access it outside that, even you use where, it is not accessible outside. So then the question is how to access it. Suppose in function 1, I declared where y. In function 1, I declared where y is equal to 20. Now here I can access that here. So that means, so function 1, x in function 1 is this. Similarly, so y in function 1. Function 1. Y in function 1, the value of y. I will put a break. And the same, I am trying to access that y here also. I am trying to access the y here also. That means I am writing y in function 2. Y in function 2. Function 2. In function 2, I am trying to access that y here. So, but it is not accessible. You can see it is accessible here. So only one is working, right? You can see here in the console, you have a problem. And the problem is, it says y is not defined in function 2. It is not accessible. Now the question is, can we declare a global variable inside the function? Yes. We have to declare this y by using window.y. That is fine. This makes it global. This makes it global because window is browser. That means now it goes into browser scope. Browser scope means it is accessible anywhere inside the page. So that means now when we make this window, not var or let, we configure this with window. When you make it with window, now you can see that it is accessible everywhere. So it is accessible everywhere. So this is a tricky question. Several people don't know, right? Because even they know about var, let, const, they know that it is only function scope. But declaring a global variable inside a function is something tricky. And that can be done, and that is required in various occasions. And for that, we use this mechanism. So by using browser window object, that means what we do is syntactically inside a function, we declare a variable with window.y is equal to 20 something. So now it is accessible inside this function and it is accessible outside this function also. From any function you can access it. That means we have a function f2 and here we can document dot write. So y is equal to whatever the value of y is, it is okay. Example anyhow, I will give this. This is the global scope for variables. The global scope for variables. So generally, to make a variable global in access, you have to declare that inside module scope. We have to configure in module. And once you defined in module, then it is accessible to all functions inside the module. Sometimes in interviews, they ask like, how if I want to access this in another module, outside this module, anything you declared inside the module is available only for this module. That means sometimes we develop library in that one file, some code, another file, some code, another file, merge these two code. We separate the files, we build library in a complex way. In that case, whatever you declared whatever you declared here is accessible only inside this module. Suppose I want to make it access outside the module, then we have to mark it as export. We have to mark it as export. This makes it accessible outside this module so that other modules can access and use it. Export is used to export this member outside the module so that you can access and use from another module. That you will see. This is what we will learn in JavaScript OOP concepts. So as of now, no need of this, but still this is a question. Like how if I want it to access outside this module? So is there a scope outside the module to use? You can. So you can use a function also. This function is available only inside this module. If I want to use this function outside the module, then we have to use export function. Export function. This is very much required actually. Suppose, see, I'm adding a JavaScript file as suppose functions.js. This is a JavaScript file. In that we have a function hello, and this function hello is printing document.write so hello. So hello JavaScript, something like this. So, and what we have done, we created another JavaScript file app.js. In this, I want to use that hello function. Then what we have to do is we have to import. So we have to import hello from that particular file. What is the file name? It is function.js. Function.js. But this hello is not, and you can access hello here. Access hello here. But it is not accessible currently because it is only available inside this file. Then to make it accessible to another file, we have to mark it as export. Export. Now you can access it here and use it here. This is what you will learn in OOP concept later. We will understand. That is the reason sometimes you will be asked with a question like where variable name. Okay, what is this export? We have export, we have default like options to use that you will see in OOP concepts. Initially, this is the global scope. How you define the global scope. So variables and declarations. Now next important is variable naming and data types. What type of data you can store in a variable. That we'll see tomorrow, right? In tomorrow's session, we will discuss about JavaScript data types. Then we can put this in some examples. Still, we cannot put this in example until or unless we learn some more topics. Variables, data types, operators, statements, these all we have to learn to put them in examples, right? Tomorrow we'll continue with that, right?